The mission clock started in 1987. Most kids get a childhood. I got deployment. By the time I landed in Florida in 88, I was already navigating the medical industry complex. The impact started here. I learned to be a patient before I learned to be a person. My normal was set to crisis mode from day one. In 1989, Anna arrived. She's my sister in everything but DNA. We were two 80s babies drifting into a comfort war against chaos. I was the big sister by 2 years, which meant I was the commanding officer in the nursery. We didn't know it then, but we already accumulated the kind of stress debt that bankers jump out the window over. We spent nearly 3 decades in the same Florida county. That is the first rule of a young carer. You are geographically held hostage by the need of others. From 1988 to 2015, I couldn't just move away or find myself. I was load-bearing wall. The impact? You grow roots in soil that is actively trying to weather you down. In my household, we spoke total generality fluidity. American English, British English, it didn't matter. What mattered was that I learned to code switch before I even learned to ride a bike. This wasn't just being bilingual, it was being hypervisual. I learned to read a room's atmosphere like the bomb tech reads a wire. That level of alertness never turns off. I viewed the humanities through a global lens while physically trapped in the Florida small town. This created a genuine fluidity in my brain, but also a deep sense of displacement. I was translating the world of the adults while trying to figure out which lunch table to sit at. The impact? You feel like an alien in your own timeline. By the time I was a fifth grader, I wasn't playing. I was operating. Where other kids my age learn social hierarchy, I was learning the logistics. I was the unpaid felicity manager of a chaotic household. The long-term impact of this is that you stop seeing life as an experience and start seeing it as a series of tasks to be executed. The joy gets filled under non-essentials. People will call this the instructional care. I call it the reason my back hurts. It's the chores, the bills, the physical grind. Doing this at the age of 10 rewires your brain. You learn that your values is tied to your utility. If you aren't fixing something, you feel useless. Unlearning that is the hardest thing I am working on doing today. The heaviest ordain was the emotional ordain, because I became the family's anchor. Acting as the therapist for adults when you're 10 years old isn't maturity, it's emotional theft. You learn to suppress your own needs to keep the peace. The bill that suppression comes due in your 30s as anxiety and burnout. Being the confident means you carry secrets that are too heavy for your spine. You filter the world to protect the adults. This is the definition of parentification. The impact that you grow up thinking your feelings are the burden to others. So you just stop having them. You become the sacrificed child in real time. Many people ask, why does this particular issue stay hidden? I guess because when most people see a child doing dishes, it looks helpful. Or a child holding a parent or a relative's fragile hands, they just think it's something that they're being kind. But it's not. A child holding a parent's fragile mental state together, it's not easy. That is the science where the damage happens. You build an oak for everyone else, but your own foundation is made of stress hormones and skips the childhood steps. That is the weathering I'm fighting today. By the time high school was here, I was in the shredder. I was triple enrolled. A brick and mortar, a virtual school, and a trade school. I wasn't ambitious. I was escaping. I needed to control something because my home life was so uncontrollable. The impact, I burned out my adrenaline system before I was legal to drive. I treated the education like a credit recovery speed run. I managed credits across 3 platforms while my home life was a constant emergency. I learned to navigate the bureaucracy, sure, but I also learned that rust is dangerous. If you stop moving, the reality catches up to you. That's the flight or flight mode for young carers. And that is a mode hard to shut off, even 20 years later. I went virtual because the traditional school failed me. My mom, the architect of the defense, was working to keep a roof over our heads. I had to stay in the brick and mortar school for the school board to pay for my trade school. And to get me out of certain classes, she had to threaten to make heads roll to get me out of them. This taught me the ordain of negotiation, but also taught me that systems meant to protect kids don't work unless you scream. This is a cinematic that is a heavy thing to carry at 17. I was humanity in action, using the rules to survive. But while I was outsmarting systems, I was missing prom, football games, and just being a simple teenager. The developmental gaps were widening between those of my same age peers and putting me in categories that the school board and those that were supposed to help me disappeared. Many young carers, myself included, you trade memories for the survival skills. Well, yes, I earned my culinary degree 17 years ago because my grandmother had taught me from a young age that the kitchen is a technical zone. I used my trade school to study food logistics because we relied on the food banks. Think about the impact of that. I wasn't dreaming of being a chef. I was studying how to feed a family on $0. That's not a hobby. That's a survival anxiety. I audited food banks like the health inspector. I analyzed the weak signals of a community failure. I was a teenager social scientist, but I shouldn't have had to be. The impact of that is that I can't look at a grocery store without calculating the logistics of hunger. It's a trauma response dressed up as a skill. 20 years ago, I was doing deep research manually. No Google, just paper and rage. I dug through archives to find resources for my family. I was a researcher before I ever became a legal adult. I didn't hang out at the mall. I hung out at reference sessions looking for grant programs. I organized the data because the chaos meant danger. This taught me that the ordain of information, which I use today for Ash and Oak Press. But let's be clear, a teenager shouldn't have to file systems for survival. The impact of this is need for control that borders on obsession. Because losing a paper meant losing a lifeline. Before my grandfather got sick, he taught me with his military career that anointing is the only way to organize intel. It was efficient, but it militarized my education. I wasn't learning for fun. I was learning for a technical advantage. That is the mindset that makes it very hard to just enjoy a book now without analyzing it for survival data. The library was my trench. It was my only safe space. I built databases of knowledge. While my peers built social lives, the long-term impact is that I am incredibly capable and incredibly lonely. You can't relate to normal problems when you spent your youth solving existential ones. By the time I was 13, I was managing my grandparents' medical needs. I saw more hospital interiors than the school dances. This is the daily hustle. Balancing homework with not only the hospital care, because my mom was busy working to keep a roof over our heads. The impact of this, you associate love with caretaking. You forget how to be loved without earning it through labor. As I translated medical jargon for people who helped raise me, this is the personification. You become the oak for your elders. The weight of that compresses your own growth. You don't get to the messy or the wrong or young. You have to be right or people get hurt. That's the crushing standard for a child. In the middle of this, Anna was in the workforce. I was 17. She was 16. We were both veterans by then. I was navigating the academic bureaucracy. She was navigating the labor market. We were two kids holding up the sky. The impact is that the bond that is unbreakable. But it's a bond forged in trauma, not just friendship. Anna dealt with low-wage brutality. I dealt with the academic triple enrollment. We were each other's safety valves. We were the only ones who knew that that normal world was a lie. The impact is a deep distrust of systems. We know that don't hold each other up, no one else will. My life is a general blend of mess. Medical drama, culinary preparation, and academic career. This is the total genre of beauty. It's a survival tactic, but it's exhausting. The impact is identity fragments. You become whoever you need to be to survive the crisis. You lose track of who you actually are. The stories I write and read were my only escape. Even now, I don't write for fun. I write to survive. I build characters who could handle the shredder. The impact is that my creativity is inextricably linked to my trauma. I'm untangling that now, trying to write for the joy, not just for rescue. The year in France, when I was younger, was another layer of the tactical adaptability. I learned to be the other and reinforced that I had to map rules to survival. This is the impact, hyper-independence. I learned that I could survive anywhere, which means I could stop asking for help anywhere. My biological father read to me To Kill a Mockingbird. It taught me empathy is tactical. But after he passed, that book became a grief map. The impact of losing a primary protector while you are the family protector is devastating. You don't have time to grieve. You only have time to manage. 2015 was the escape from Flutter. I left the trenches with my mom. We are 38 and 36 now, but the ash of those years are still in our lungs. You can't leave a war zone. You can leave the war zone, but the war zone doesn't leave you. This is the impact that we still decompress from 27-year deployment. For years, we treaded waters. Caregivers, workers, dreamers trapped in a loop. The impact of stagnation is that you feel behind. You watch your peers hit milestones while you're just trying to keep the family afloat. We are playing catch up on our lives now. This is the core of the story, weathering. When you spend your youth as a low-bearing wall, your structure erodes. I'm 38. I have health profile of someone much older. This isn't bad luck. This is a receipt for stress I carried since 1988. The body keeps score, and it charges interest. The high-stakes and survival mode of my youth has manifested as a chronic health battle today. This is the long view of caregiving. You pay for resilience of your youth with the vitality of your middle ages. I'm managing a body that is tired of being brave. Being one of the sacrifice childs, you shelve your dreams like I had to. I put my life on hold to anchor my family. The impact is a grief for the life you didn't get to live. Now, with Ash and Oak Press, I'm reclaiming those dreams. But am I doing it with I'm doing it with a weathered body. It is harder now. I have the developmental gap that academics say kids who become young carers have. I miss the so-called carefree stages. I went from a toddler to manager. At 38, I'm using the psychology studies, my minor, at SNHU to understand these gaps. I'm learning how to play, how to rest, and how to be unproductive. It feels unnatural, and that is the tragedy. I know my mom appreciates how I help her. I know she acknowledges the cost that I paid in my youth. We have a name for it. It's called the Parental Appreciation Shield. This helps, but it doesn't undo the physical damage. The impact is a relationship that is honest, but heavy. We survived together. Because Anna and I have been in the same soil for 27 years, this isn't a friendship, it's shared PTSD. The impact, we are codependent in the healthiest way possible. We're the only ones who understand the language of our Pacific War. Because I was born in 87, she was born in 89, nearly 2-year age gap meant I was the first hit. I was the big sister shield. The impact on me was the sense of hyper responsibility. The impact on her was watching me weather the storm so she could learn the pattern. We protected each other, but that protection has a cost. We both sacrificed careers to stay in the trenches. We are rewriting that now, but we are starting our real careers in our late 30s. The impact is the financial and professional delays. We are building an empire now because we have to catch up. I used loopholes to survive high school. The impact is that I still look for the back door in every situation. I don't trust the front door. I don't trust the easy way. I expect resistance, so I always brace myself for impact. Anna and I have the unfiltered ordain. We don't hide the pain. The impact is a business built on radiating truth. We know the cost of the ash. We aren't selling a fantasy. We are selling the manual on how to survive the fire. I use the ODA loop at SNHU because I don't know how to learn without a strategy. This is the impact that I have as an intense student. I'm not here for a diploma. I'm here for intel. I'm weaponizing my education to explain my own history. I am writing the humanity in action because I can't write fluff. I write about the struggle because that's what I know. The impact is the stories that are visceral. My characters carry the weight I carried. They are the avatars in my avatars in the simulation. My past is the technical manual of survival. Not just being a young carer, but of other traumas. But I shouldn't have to need to write it. The impact is that I'm an expert in crisis management, but a novice in peace. Ashno Press is my attempt to build peace that I can actually live in. We are trying to graduate from crisis mode to sustainability, but it's the hardest thing we've ever done. The impact of trauma is that peace feels boring and suspicious. We are learning to trust the quiet. My information for you is my anxiety shield. I achieve everything because I'm terrified of forgetting critical details. The impact is massive. Organized databases, but it's built on a fear of failure. I'm learning to trust the system so I can relax the brain. I'm using SNHU to evaluate the sacrifice child. I'm proving that caregiving changes your biology. The impact is that my pain has a purpose now. It's not suffering, it's data. And the data can change the world. The adaptive chef is the result of the culinary engineering. It is making something beautiful out of the scraps. The impact is a brand that knows the value of resources. We don't waste anything. It's not the food, it's not the time, it's not the pain. Chattanooga is where we finally will plant the oak, but the roots are scarred. The impact of the move was realizing that the geography changes the view, but not the memories. We will heal here, but it's active work. Ashen Oak Press is unyielding because we had to be. The impact of our history is a company that is fireproof. We built it from the ash. We know what burns and we know what stands. I am Mariah, born in 87, weathered Florida, reinforced by Anna, 89. The impact of being a young career is that I am tired, I am weathered, and I am scarred. But I'm also still here. We are building hope, not because it's easy, but because it's the only shelter we have left. The bill is paid. Now we build.